Okay, so now we're going to talk about the organic compound lipids. And as I find my screen here, the organic compound lipids is the next category that we're going to talk about. And some examples of that main organic compound are fats, oils, waxes, and steroids. So we just reviewed a lot of kids know what fats are, but oils, if you think of the oils on your skin, that's an example of a lipid, an organic compound like a lipid. Waxes, like if you look at the shininess of leaves, that is an example of a lipid. And steroids, cholesterol, testosterone, and estrogen, and I'm sure you've probably heard of these. What you need to know about lipids is that they're also made of the same components as carbohydrates, like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. However, they are not in the 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. What you're going to find out is that lipids contain a lot more carbon than carbohydrates. So while it's the same ingredients, it's just in different combinations. There really isn't a true monomer for lipids. Sometimes we say it's a fatty acid, so we look at this and we call this like the monomer, but it's not really a true monomer. In this case, this is a fatty acid and it has a glycerol head and 2 fatty acid tails. Now, this glycerol head is known as hydrophilic, so it's water-loving. So it's also polar. This hydrophobic region, right here, these 2 tails, are water-fearing. So this is going to come into play when we start to talk about cell membranes. And you're going to start to understand why, some things can go through the membrane, why some things can't. Just to take a look again, let me make sure I stress that fats contain a lot of carbon. So you're going to find that they give us a lot of energy. There's just all these carbon and all those bonds. So that means it's going to take more energy to break those bonds and say it takes more energy to burn fat, so to speak, but it provides a lot of energy. But there's lots of other functions of lipids. One right here, we have a picture of a kidney. And if you've ever dissected anything or butchered, you'll notice there's usually fat around organs. So let's take a look at the next page to see some of the functions. So some lipid-related molecules like cholesterol, steroids, and ring structures are involved in different parts of organisms. Some lipids are used for nutritional or energy storage. So you'll hear about a triglyceride. Triglyceride has 3 tails. Some are involved in cell membranes. They're part of structures like the cell membranes, and those are called phospholipids, and they line up like this in a bilayer. This is a cell membrane. Sometimes when you're a kid, you just look at a cell membrane and people draw it like a line, but it's actually much more complex than that. And then another big function and use of lipids is protection and also insulation. Protection and insulation. Insulation means to keep you warm. So 2 questions you should be able to answer is, why do humans need lipids? So you can look back up here and say, well, you need them for all of these different things. They're an important part of membranes, their protection, their energy. There's several different functions. But it isn't a good thing to have too many lipids. That could lead to cardiovascular disease. And while we're on that topic, some other thing that usually comes up between lipids is there's a difference between some lipids. There's a difference between saturated and unsaturated fats. So what that's all about is saturated fats are straight. You can see they're straight. Unsaturated fats have a bend, mainly because of this double bond right there that causes this bend. So saturated fats, they're kind of dangerous because they can basically pack in, whether it's your artery, we were trying to draw an artery here, they can pack in arteries compared to unsaturated fats that are bent and they don't pack so tightly. Some examples of fats, saturated fats, or otherwise known as the bad fats, are butter, lard, Crisco. Doesn't mean you can't eat them, but you need to make sure you consume them in moderation. Unsaturated fats, sometimes known as the good fats, are things like canola oil, vegetable oil, margarine. But again, those things need to be consumed in moderation. But that's nutritionally, if you're hearing about saturated and unsaturated fats, that's what they're talking about. And the next topic will be proteins.